King Charles' aide oversaw royal protection at Epstein's home, emails claim. A startling new layer has emerged in the long-running saga, connecting Jeffrey Epstein's shadowy world to Britain's royal family. Freshly revealed emails suggest that a senior aide to King Charles personally coordinated security arrangements at one of Epstein's private residences. The correspondence indicates the aide was involved in overseeing royal protection protocols during a visit or series of meetings at the property. This revelation has reignited fierce public interest and intense speculation about exactly how close certain royal circles came to the convicted sex offender. Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier, died in custody in August 2019. While awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking and conspiracy charges. His death, officially ruled a suicide, sparked countless conspiracy theories and kept his extensive network of powerful associates under global scrutiny. Among the many high-profile names linked to Epstein over the years, Prince Andrew, the younger brother of King Charles, has faced the most direct allegations. The Duke of York settled a civil lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre in 2022. Without admitting liability, yet the controversy has never fully disappeared. Now attention has shifted toward other figures within the royal household, with these newly surfaced emails pointing directly to a trusted aide of the king. According to sources familiar with the correspondence, the aide in question held a senior position responsible for royal security and travel logistics. The messages reportedly detail arrangements for protective measures to be implemented at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse or Palm Beach mansion. Exact dates, locations, and the precise nature of the royal presence remain disputed. Yet the emails appear to show active involvement from a member of Charles' staff. Royal historians and security experts note that such coordination is standard procedure whenever a member of the royal family attends private events or meets influential figures. However, the choice of venue, Epstein's own residence, raises immediate red flags. Given what is now widely known about the criminal activities conducted there. The aide's role, according to those who have seen the emails, included liaising with Epstein's household staff and private security team. Instructions allegedly covered entry points, guest lists, and contingency plans, ensuring the royal visitors' safety and privacy were adequately maintained. Critics argue that accepting protection inside Epstein's property demonstrates a troubling level of comfort with the disgraced financier. Supporters of the royal family counter that security teams must operate impartially and cannot refuse to do their job simply because of a host's controversial reputation. King Charles himself has never been accused of any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein, and palace sources have repeatedly stressed his complete distance from the scandal. Yet the emergence of these emails places uncomfortable pressure on Clarence House, forcing officials to respond to questions they had hoped were long buried. The correspondence first came to light through ongoing document releases linked to civil litigation and freedom of information campaigns in the United States. Investigative journalists working with court-filed materials uncovered the messages. Buried among thousands of pages of depositions, exhibits, and internal memos. While the aide's name has not been officially published in most reports, several outlets have identified the individual as a long-serving member of staff. This person reportedly enjoyed the confidence of both Prince Charles and Camilla, handling sensitive assignments that required absolute discretion and loyalty. The revelation has prompted renewed calls for a fuller accounting of every interaction between Epstein and individuals connected to the monarchy. Pressure groups and survivors advocates view the emails as further evidence that Epstein's influence reached deeper into elite circles than previously admitted. They argue that senior royals and their staff should have exercised greater caution before allowing any form of official coordination at a known predator's residence. Defenders of the royal household insist the emails reflect routine protocol, rather than any endorsement of Epstein or awareness of his criminal behavior. At the time, many of Epstein's most serious offenses were not yet public knowledge, and he still retained a veneer of respectability in certain wealthy circles. The aide's involvement therefore may simply reflect the professional obligations of someone tasked with protecting a principal regardless of the location. Still, the optics remain deeply problematic in the post-Epstein era, where virtually any association with the financier invites intense scrutiny. King Charles ascended the throne in September 2022 following the death of Queen Elizabeth II, and has spent much of his reign attempting to modernize and slim down the monarchy. The last thing the new king needs is another chapter linking his household to one of the most toxic names in recent criminal and social history. Buckingham Palace has so far declined to comment directly on the emails, stating only that all appropriate security measures are always followed. Private secretaries and communications teams are reportedly reviewing the material to determine whether a more detailed public response will become necessary. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew continues to live quietly at Royal Lodge in Windsor, having been stripped of military titles and public-facing duties several years ago. His settlement with Virginia Giuffre removed the immediate legal threat, but the reputational damage lingers and shows little sign of fading. The latest email disclosure threatens to pull focus back onto the wider royal circle, raising questions about institutional awareness and decision-making at the time. Security experts interviewed by major broadcasters explain that advanced teams frequently visit potential venues days or weeks before any royal arrival. In high-risk or unusual locations, additional layers of protection are standard, including coordination with local police, private guards, and host-provided staff. If Epstein's home was used for any meeting or event involving a royal, then some level of prior arrangement would have been unavoidable. What remains unclear is who authorized the acceptance of such an invitation, and whether red flags about Epstein's behavior were raised internally. Several former royal protection officers have spoken anonymously, saying that controversial hosts were occasionally accommodated under strict conditions. Others insist they would have pushed back strongly against using Epstein's property, given even the rumors circulating in elite circles during the early 2000s. The emails, if fully authenticated and placed in accurate context, could therefore become an important piece in the larger Epstein puzzle. For King Charles, the situation presents a delicate balancing act, protecting loyal staff while addressing legitimate public concern. The monarch has repeatedly expressed support for justice for Epstein's victims, and has voiced sympathy for those who suffered abuse at the financier's hands. any perception that his own household was complicit even tangentially would undermine years of careful image management and charitable work. Survivors groups have seized on the story, demanding greater transparency and urging authorities to release any remaining sealed documents swiftly. They argue that powerful institutions have too often escaped scrutiny, while victims continue to fight for acknowledgement and accountability. Media coverage of the emails has been intense on both sides of the Atlantic, with television panels, podcasts, and newspaper columns dissecting every detail. Some commentators accuse the press of sensationalism and recycled gossip, while others maintain that sunlight remains the best disinfectant. As the story develops, royal watchers will be paying close attention to see whether further correspondence diaries or witness statements surface. King Charles' reign has already navigated major transitions and challenges, from the cost of living crisis to questions about the future of the Commonwealth. The Epstein shadow, however, remains one of the most persistent and damaging, because it touches on trust, morality, and institutional judgment. Whether these emails ultimately prove to be routine paperwork or something far more troubling, only time and further disclosure will tell. For now, they serve as a stark reminder that history does not always stay buried, and that yesterday's security arrangements can become today's front-page controversy. The royal family has endured countless storms over the centuries, yet each new revelation tests the institution's ability to adapt and explain itself. King Charles continues his duties with characteristic dedication, while aides quietly manage fallout from a scandal few expected to resurface. The public waits, watches, and wonders just how deep the connections really ran, and whether full answers will ever emerge from the shadows of the past.